Oh, your favorite podcast has just downloaded, sir.
Follow us on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of those things. And why not tell your friends about us on the YouTubes? Lastly, thank you all Patreons. That means you, and yeah, you at the back over there with the weird shirt on. Onwards and sideways with the show. Thank you very much for listening.
Hello and welcome to an episode of Fully Charged. This actually, Johnny, this is a proper fully charged episode of Fully Charged, is it not?
This is a true fully charged podcast because we're together in the same location.
Yeah.
In a car.
Actually
Potentially charging a car which we're sat in.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest about it. We've come to an amazing fully charged charging hub. It's not a fully charged charging hub, a ChargeMaster charging hub,
Yeah.
Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
We've both driven here with the specific intention of recording a podcast, but we've both arrived in cars that mine's literally left a trail of electrons all the way here.
Yours is brimming.
It's brimming.
Mine's swollen with charge.
Because we've just had a meeting this morning and we were charging our cars in Milton Keynes where there's loads of chargers. And so by the time we got here, I can't get any more in.
You get spoiled going around Milton Keynes with an EV.
It's so easy,
It's just
isn't it?
everywhere. There's an abundance.
It's what it should be like everywhere.
It is really quite pleasant in terms of chargeability.
In chargeability, it has a lot to be said for it. In terms of remembering about the parking arrangements, I've let myself down.
Remembering roads and also quite a lot of homeless people.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is, isn't there? But what I did, though, was park.
Well, you paid
plug in and then paid for the parking and then remembered later when you told me
the EVs don't have to pay when they're charging.
So my charge cost me £8 of parking, which was anyway, it's my own fault.
So I'm gonna treat him to a Twix later.
I need that to cheer me up.
Gonna cheeky Twix.
Having a Twix will make me happy.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, it's good. It's really good. It's good that we've finally managed to get one where we're both there, which is good.
We're sitting in my e-Golf.
Yeah.
Like some sort of rubbish stakeout. We look like a pair of rubbish detectives.
Really bad detectives. And the Russians that we were trying to spot, they've seen us hours ago and they've gone somewhere else.
They've gone.
And
we're in Milton Keynes Park and Ride in this lovely hub. We don't really need to charge because we're both swollen with charge. Yeah. But we've got lots to talk about.
We have. Because I went on the last podcast, I was droning on. No, I was waffling. A kind of
meaningful,
enthusiastic waffle about the conference I went to, which is all about mineral extraction and battery manufacturing and everything. But there's this story that was in Bloomberg New Energy Finance magazine, blog, whatever you call it. Bloomberg NEF. Published the results of its 9th battery price survey. So it does it every year. It's been doing it every year for the last 9 years.
Oh, okay, right.
And it looking at data from as early as 2010 about the price of manufacturing batteries, what batteries cost, and the raw minerals they have constantly dropped in that time. Wait a minute, the volume weighted average battery pack fell 85% in between 2010 and 2018.
85%.
Now you imagine if that was reflected in the cost of electric cars. That would mean an e-Golf would cost like £40.
Wow.
It doesn't quite reflect. It is a massive. So we're now there now. The average price is $176. Well, Tesla have already said they're about to reach $100 a kilowatt hour.
Are they really?
Which is extraordinary. So there are some batteries more than that, some less, but 176 is heading towards that. The $100 a kilowatt hour manufacturing cost is always argued as the tipping point. It's when you can make an electric car for the same price or even cheaper than a petrol one.
But you still have to bear in mind how quickly this has all come about.
Yeah.
Versus the refinement of the mass-produced piston car.
Yes, yeah.
It's big.
How much more can you shave down the cost of producing that? Very little.
Because if we reach peak EV in the next 10 years, that's still nothing short of remarkable.
Yeah. I can't imagine.
No.
Who knows?
Well, we'll start pioneering lighter weight, stronger materials.
Yeah.
So you'll have a full, massive 7-seater SUV that weighs 900 kilos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the thing they were going on about in that the next generation that they're all obsessed with. This is investors, long-term investors who are investing in what minerals should we invest in.
Precious material.
It was that's why they were said, you don't worry about lithium. There's loads of lithium. We don't need much, and there's loads of it. Cobalt is the big problem. We've got to stop using cobalt, which they are working on. And I know that I don't know anything about copper. There's loads of copper. They said, but if you're going to build, actually, because we've been talking about Johnny doing his house out. You should build your house out of copper. That's the best. That's the best.
You flipping joking.
Investment. No, but then you'd have to sell it.
Oh, my house would get stolen by thieves.
It would be stolen. It would literally.
Like the whole
people
roof.
would come up at night and saw corners off. But yeah, copper is a very sensible investment because it's all those things where, the general members of the public like us haven't got a clue how much copper. There's loads of copper.
Right.
There's not. That isn't a problem. The problem is extracting it cleanly, treating it cleanly, not flooding rivers with the poison toxins that come off it. There's plenty of, with all disruption, there's always plenty of
ethical manufacture.
The ethical
Extraction,
battery is the big thing. And that was being talked about in Norway as well at the Oslo Nordic EV Summit, was people want to drive the Hyundai Ethic.
Yes.
Which is an ethically sourced battery, that you've got that stuff. And it is an important thing that was,
I think it's really important, especially as we're trying to ramp up production of the passenger car.
Wouldn't it be amazing if Shell or BP said we're now producing ethical petrol? It costs more, but this is how we do it.
So like your fair trade bananas scenario, it is, isn't it? And I do pay extra for fair trade.
Yeah, fair trade. What's the other one? Coffee.
Fair trade coffee. I do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know how realistic it is, but
you've got to hope.
One of the things they say there is current prices are far lower than this in reality, which is interesting. So they say it's $176 is the average. This is partially true. There are numerous examples of pack prices quoted to us that are lower than the average. There is a wide range of battery types in the market, and anecdotes do not make a market.
Anecdotes do not make a market.
We could do a sort of PR, not a PR pitch, a corporate presentation, which we're open with that. Anecdotes do not make a market.
Unless we set up an anecdotal market stall, like a traditional market stall.
With some bunting across the top.
With some bunting, and I'll do the shouting. I'll shout, anecdotes, 2 for 50p.
Yeah. So there we go. Many of these, such as Tesla's publicly stated prices, actually feed into our average. I think they're arguing that their average is average. So the large volume, they are producing at the moment the most of anyone. Tesla, but they're about to be overtaken by. There's all these
Panasonic producing.
Panasonic, isn't it? It's a Panasonic co-production.
Yeah.
But there are 43. I think that was how many it was. Tesla gigafactory-sized factories either being built now or in development and nearly all of them are in China.
Really?
But it's massive ramp up. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. But now, let's do the other one, because that Pininfarina.
The Pininfarina Battista.
It's Pininfarina. It's Pininfarina.
Pininfarina.
No wonder I had trouble saying it.
Pininfarina Battista.
Which you saw at the Geneva Motor Show.
Yeah, the electric hypercar, which is has much of the underpinnings of that are made by Rimac.
Right.
It's made in Italy. In fact, they're claiming it to be the fastest car ever to have come out of Italy.
Wow.
Bear in mind, Italians make the fastest cars.
They do.
Well, they tend to.
Yeah. But then, that episode, you won't have seen that, listeners. It hasn't gone out yet, but it is going out very soon. I can't remember when, because Mark's not here to show us the running order, but soon.
By the time this comes out, it'll be less than 10 days, I think.
Yeah.
And it'll be me getting a walk round of the Battista electric hypercar on the Geneva show stand.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible car.
But if you want to see it in the UK and you're a car aficionado...
Yeah, absolutely love it. It's funny you should mention aficionado, because I am.
Well, you are, yes, you are a car aficionado.
I like to think I am.
But then it's at Goodwood, then, is it?
It's coming to the Goodwood members meeting, which is
so it's not the Festival of Speed.
It's not the Festival of Speed. It's a smaller, more intimate, and actually, I think, more enjoyable event with a lot of historic race cars.
Right.
But they're choosing to bring it there for a debut. I don't know whether it's going to be seen driving, but it'll be on display. So when you're listening to this, the weekend coming up, you'll be able to go to Goodwood on Friday, Saturday or Sunday and see a 1900 horsepower electric hypercar.
1900 horsepower is quite a lot, isn't it, for a small two-seater car?
Oh, it's a proper dick shrinker. on full acceleration. I would have thought it's nothing short.
Because what is it? What is it? It's 0 to 60. It's sort of two and a bit seconds.
It's sub 2.5.
Wow,
I think
really?
it's,
God, that's just.
yeah, I mean we're getting into full G's being pulled here.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it is an astonishing car.
Yeah.
And it is an astonishing achievement that Pininfarina have done, and
so they
and
were
Rimac.
they're a style. They did styling because I've heard of the name, but they've never made a car before. Is that
no,
the
this
story?
is the first full car that they're making. They've always been a styling house,
Right.
and we've used them for British cars. Of course, many Italian cars have used them. Many manufacturers have used them over the years because they're just good at what they do, and they're displaying it at Goodwood. We're next to a 1955 Lancia Aurelia B20 Series 4 Gran Turismo,
and that would have been they designed that.
That would have been one of their most
Right.
beautiful cars.
Hey.
But yeah, Pininfarina, they've done some amazing cars, British cars, all kinds of nationalities of cars. This is exciting though because Rimac has got a lot of the underpinnings. In the video that you'll see on the Fully Charged YouTube channel, I got to download the mind of one of the head engineers, and he was poached from Porsche to go to Pininfarina, and he just signed off most of the Taycan before he went.
Wow.
Interestingly, so he told me a lot about the Taycan. And he said that's the reason why this car is 800 volts, because a lot of his know-how of
in that region,
800 volts. He took over to...
Because we should explain to listeners who aren't familiar with all this stuff that this car is 400.
Yeah, most EVs.
So most EVs at the moment are 400,
around the 400
volts.
Yeah.
Because volts, once it gets very confusing. I mean, I have to say, the bit of internal combustion I miss is that kind of rudimentary understanding of litres, how big the engine is.
Amps
gallons,
is torque, isn't it?
Yeah.
Typically, amps is torque, and volts is your acceleration.
Yeah. So it's got
your revs, your RPM.
Yeah. So I mean, but the difference is it can charge much faster. So that can presumably that one can take a 350 kilowatt charge.
It can take 350 kilowatts of DC,
which is a lot.
Which I don't like to say game changing lightly.
No.
But bearing in mind that this can charge at 50 kilowatts, so that's quite quick.
Yeah.
You know, that's 40 minutes, 80% charge. Yeah. What are Tesla up to at the
120. That's what mine is. The Model 3 is 150, isn't it?
Okay, and again, that's a significant jump from 50.
It makes a big difference. It's so quick.
Yeah, so it's more than double of what Tesla currently do.
Yeah.
So it is seriously eye-popping.
Yeah.
And of course, that tech, if Porsche are doing it, Porsche are owned by the Volkswagen Group.
Yeah.
Put two and two together, you're going to see that trickle down into perhaps Volkswagens, Seats, which brings us neatly
onto the Seat,
onto the next agenda.
That's amazing. Wait a minute. To launch six electric and plug-in hybrid electric.
Yes,
so some pure electric. So that's
Seat are doing well.
Yeah,
they've just had record sales in 2018.
Right.
The highest ever profit of the company.
Wow, because when you think that at the moment every car company in the world is having a bit of a struggle and cutting back on production and they're
Seat are sailing now. Seat are a Spanish company now owned under the Volkswagen umbrella, along with Skoda. But yeah, they're going to be they're going headlong into plug-in stuff. They've presented their electric strategy at the end of March, and it'll include 6 electric and plug-in hybrids. The electric version of the Me, which is their answer to the VW Up.
Oh, so a little thing. Oh,
so it'll hopefully be the next generation of E-Up.
Yeah,
but significantly better electrification, I hope.
And what's the L-Born?
The L-Born, which will be their other model. With the new generation of Leon and Tarraco will feature plug-in hybrid. Right. The Leon is their Golf.
Yes, I know the Leon. Right.
Yeah. So, they're doing good things. I think it sounds like we're going to have a lot of content from them over the next 12 monthts, which will please me immensely. You could say that maybe in your finest Spanish, Robert.
It will please me. God. Wait a minute, which European nation have I not offended?
Español. You have to do the lisping, the intentional lisping.
The theatre will impress you.
Yes, of course.
Signor.
For sure. Yeah, thank you.
Well, that is very good news.
Yeah,
that's the thing it's one of the things we've been discussing today is how the hell we manage to cover all the cars that are coming out, because we're quite stressed, listeners.
I think that fully charged is still a very small cottage industry. You can call it a cottage industry.
I think you could actually a shed out the back of the cottage. I think you've got that lean-to.
It's grown.
It's the lean-to on the edge of a very small cottage.
It's grown significantly since it was just you and a microphone and a camera.
Yeah.
But it's still very small,
and it's very hard to stretch.
It's hard to keep on. To keep up with everything and stay current with all the tech and all the vehicles.
Yeah.
We're trying our best.
We're getting there. Well, this is exciting. I just want to explain to listeners that this is a story that was on Reddit, posted by Mr. Salty Peanuts.
Of course it was. Is that Mr. Salty Peanuts?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I had a packet the other day.
And it was posted on Reddit, which is not something I normally see, but I did see that. A lot of people tweeted this. But basically, it's a right-hand drive variant of the Tesla Model 3 has been spotted in California.
Hurrah.
Ooh.
Being tested.
Ooh.
Nice.
Because now we've both driven the Model 3 extensively, and it is a hard car to hate.
Yeah, it is. It is a hard car to hate. I would agree with you. And you as a Model S owner and driver, you've spent the last 3 years with that black one?
That's coming to 4 years now.
And yours goes back in June?
Goes back in June. Will there be a
Robert's going to be weeping.
I will be.
And you secretly want to replace it with the 3.
Oh, I don't even secretly. I'm quite public about it.
He's public about it, but what he's not saying, Tesla, and I think you will be listening to this, is if Robert doesn't get the first UK right-hand drive Model 3, then you're a cluster of goons. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to say it. He's not said it. I've said it.
But they are saying, Elon has said, and it aligns well with the sighting, because as mid-2019 has been the predicted timeframe for the right-hand drive variant's release on several occasions.
Wow.
And we know how reliable he is when he's tweeting.
Well, absolutely.
It's very similar to the American president. When he says something, that must be the truth.
Yeah.
So
he could even have a cannabis cigarette in one hand whilst tweeting.
But there's quite a lot of reservation holders in the UK who've still held on to the reservation. Quite a few of them got rid of it because they just got bored. I don't blame them.
I spoke to a guy while I was charging this, while we were doing the fully charged meeting.
Right.
And I came in unplugged, and a guy in an i3 roared up, and we didn't roar.
No.
Hissed up, whatever you want to do, and backed in, and he was a viewer of the show, and he said, I've had a Model 3 on order for 2 years.
Wow.
I've kept it on order, but I got bored. My Leaf was due to go back, and I've just bought a second-hand i3 as an interim car.
Right.
But he said, I've got a 911 in the garage, which I only use at weekends now.
Right.
He said, I would never have thought I would have gone on to EVs.
Wow.
But he can't wait for the 3.
Wow. Yeah.
He can't wait for the 3.
He's hanging on to it.
He is holding on. He's holding out for a hero.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. I mean, I'm not holding my breath. But I mean, I did love it. I'll tell you the thing that I noticed, which will be in the episode. We've shot an episode about this drive. I drove from, I think I've already mentioned this on the podcast, so forgive me for being a tedious old man, but I drove from Copenhagen to Oslo, which is, I don't know how far, some miles and even more kilometres. But the autopilot on the Model 3, really good. And it took me about 40 kilometres to work out how to turn it on, because it's a different lever on a different side.
40?
Or maybe 100. It's quite a while. But once I worked it out, and it does that, it locks you into the lane. You can feel it kind of go whoosh, and it holds you in the lane. It does that brilliantly. And then you indicate, and it makes sure there's no one coming, and it overtakes. It's got so many cameras, I can't even remember, loads of cameras and sensors.
So much LiDAR.
It was overtaking, but then, as we were overtaking a truck, it was suddenly like a nervous pony. It went like that, and it put the brakes on really hard. There was nothing in the way. It was a really quiet stretch of motorway / freeway in Sweden.
See, that's my fear.
Because that one doesn't do that. That one is very confident about that. So it's like that's an adult. That's an adult Tesla. This one was like a teenager.
A learner.
So I found that, it was so sensitively set, so hyper safety conscious, which in some ways is good, but it was a little bit too jerky.
But the fact that it hit the brakes as well, if someone, imagine if there was a motorcyclist.
If there was someone behind,
that's my worry. Yeah. That's always been my worry.
I think you're right. I'm not, I mean, I didn't, what I did use after that was just the cruise control. The adaptive cruise control is brilliant.
Which
that
is
worked
great.
Beautifully, I found that much easier. This next little story I think is fascinating just because of
VW
are getting stroppy with the German lobbying group. So there's a German lobbying group, perfectly legitimate, but not sort of subterfuge backhanders, but they publicly lobby the German government about emissions controls, MPGs, particulate emissions, all that stuff.
But VW's getting stroppy with it.
They're getting stroppy. That was my headline.
I like it.
But it's
conjuring all kinds of images.
Yeah, but it's basically because it's like they've seen the light. It's almost evangelical that they've gone, now we make electric cars and we can see the bad sides of all the diesels and the petrols. Well, you've been making them for
absolutely
70 or 80 years and, without any trouble. But they're now going all sort of evangelically EV because they're saying that the lobbying group is pressuring the German government not to introduce more legislation to encourage electric cars because they're still making all the, this is your Audis, your BMWs, your Mercedes.
Well, of course, there's still a higher proportion of piston cars being made,
Volkswagen appears to be recognising this issue, or what the issue is. What is the issue? Let me go back to find the issue. Automakers have promoted policies to slow down the adoption of electric vehicles through lobbying groups for years. Quelle surprise.
Yeah,
as they say in Germany.
Yes.
Most recently, Automakers Association have pushed against efforts to increase average fuel economy, which would have forced EVs to be built in higher volume.
Wow.
Interestingly, several automakers were claiming to be all in on electric cars, which we've experienced, while indirectly supporting those lobbying efforts. I mean, it is the same tack that the oil companies are making. We're going to be an energy company that produces renewable energy. Meanwhile, lobbying like mad to say, let us drill in the Arctic and do all the rest of it.
I know. That is scary.
I should say that this story is from Electrek, which is, we quote a lot of stories from Electrek because they're very good. So where was it? Now Volkswagen appears to be recognising this issue, so that's the issue, and are pressuring the Association of the German Automotive Industry, the VDA, a powerful lobbying group in Germany, to promote electric vehicles. And this is
Germany's Welt.
Yeah, this
paper.
is from the Welt newspaper, translated from the German. Shall I read it in a
Please
German
do.
accent?
I'm going to open a door just to get a little bit of fresh air in.
Oh yeah, we did.
I haven't broken wind or anything.
No,
I'm just doing it.
It's a good idea because we're actually sitting in the sunshine.
We are sitting
in the UK
sun
in March,
and it's very still and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's spring-like.
So just a reminder. When I did the last podcast, I explained that Johnny and I had recorded one in the car and it went wrong. We're now doing it again because we did a lot of door opening in the last.
We did a lot of door opening.
It's one of the best podcasts we've ever done. No one can ever hear it.
Stop it,
bitter.
Because I'm so upset. I hated myself.
Oh, it wasn't your
fault. Several days.
No, we can hate. I think we can hate Apple because we were using an Apple laptop.
Yeah, let's hate
Apple. If we'd been using a Chromebook, it would have been fine.
Yeah, that's true actually. Acorn Electron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to read this quote from the Welt newspaper. The list of criticisms made at Volkswagen is long. Above all, the association must move away. Wait a minute. The list of criticisms made at Volkswagen is long. I'm getting this very confused. Who made the criticism at Volkswagen?
Somebody at Volkswagen.
Ah, that is because it is translated from German.
Yes.
So I would say the list of criticisms made by Volkswagen is long. Above all, the association must move away from a strategy of technology openness and ensure that all forces are focused exclusively on the enforcement of the battery electric car.
All forces are focused exclusively on the enforcement.
It's like that scene in Downfall when Hitler's banging the map.
It is.
Sorry, I shouldn't have referred to that, although it's a great
Development
scene.
And promotion of vehicles with fuel cells and gas engines or other environmentally friendly variants would have to be stopped. Environmentally friendly or unfriendly?
Oh, it says friendly. This will overburden the industry, says VW boss Herbert Diess. Now I'm totally confused because that sort of sounds like we've got to stop making. Wait a minute. Ensure all forces are focused exclusively on the enforcement of the battery electric car.
Yes.
So they don't want to muck around with fuel cells.
No, in short, VW wants the association to stop pushing alternative fuel vehicles and focus on BEVs. That's what.
Because that is a great excuse for the automotive industry. Well, we're developing hydrogen fuel cell cars. And when are they coming out? About 15 years' time.
Yeah.
But you said that in 1972.
Focus on the now. Yeah, I'm done with Tomorrow's World episodes.
Yeah. VDA responded by saying that other drive and fuel alternatives remain in the field of vision, but they plan to meet with VW soon to discuss the issue. What is interesting is, I would guess, is VW the biggest of the German automakers in terms of production?
Yeah,
and
the
numbers
Volkswagen Group.
by
Yes,
by a mile.
Yeah, I mean, what you got the other powerhouses, BMW who own Mini,
Yeah.
Mercedes who've got Smart. Although Smart, they've just Smart. The Daimler have just done a deal with Geely.
Oh, right. Yeah, I never know whether Geely or Geely, but Geely.
Geely to sell some of Smart.
Oh.
To the Chinese.
Oh, right.
To Geely, who obviously own Volvo.
Volvo, yeah.
So it's all becoming very incestuous.
All very incestuous.
Yeah, it's like late 70s Fleetwood Mac or something like that. Or was it early 80s? I can't remember.
I think it was late 70s.
Peak.
Yeah, peak Mac, as it was called in the trade.
Yes, exactly that. Rumours, circa Rumours album.
Rumours. I mean, it's a classic album.
It's a great
You
album
can't fault
cover.
it.
It's very good. Thunder, as you know, only happens when it's raining, although it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And then whilst on the musical terms, we are sat at this fast charging station, which has an abundance. How many?
I think there's 8 or 9 rapid chargers.
And neither of us need to fully charge.
I feel very guilty.
I would say that can't be more Alanis Morissette ironic than that.
No, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
That's completely...
Finding a charging hub when you don't need a charge.
Yes, absolutely. When you've got an abundance of charge.
You've got an abundance of charge. What I want to point out to listeners, though, because you can't see this, is that we're not stopping anyone else charging here. There's no one else charging. We're not kind of blocking up unused chargers.
There's no rush hour at the moment, so I don't think anyone's...
We're okay. That is essentially the top and bottom of our news. I mean, in terms of stories...
The top and the bottom.
The top and the bottom. I mean, the other things we can mention, unless is there another story there? Oh, Ford. Oh, no, we haven't finished.
Well, you're actually...
I am now going
in 48 hours or so, or whatever it is.
I'm going to explore what Ford are doing with their plug-ins.
Yeah.
So actually, out of all the big global automakers, Ford are, I think it's fair to say, mildly behind the curve.
Yeah, they are, because it's not like they even released a car a long time ago and discontinued it, like Vauxhall have.
Yes.
With the Ampera.
Yeah.
They never really had a pioneering plug-in.
Yeah.
But they've shown off this Mustang-inspired SUV, which is going to be electric.
Yeah.
And they're talking about plug-in hybrid Foci.
I think
and
Foci.
Fiestae.
And Fiestae. Yeah.
Fiestas is with 2 apostrophes.
And also, I've had a very brief drive around a car park of a plug-in hybrid Transit.
Now that's the thing that interests me more than anything.
Yeah, in a way it does, doesn't it? It's weird. Yeah.
Because I know Vauxhall are going full EV with a van later this year, I believe. Renault, obviously,
Renault
are already there.
Nissan are doing it. Yeah.
Nissan. So if Ford, the Transit being probably still the bestseller, Volkswagen are going to come along with an ID version of the Transporter. But that won't be for 2 years.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see what they do with the
Ford will reveal significant electrification at the event I'm going to next week, which is
in Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam, it will be very nice. So I'm quite intrigued to see, because I think it's mainly plug-in hybrids, which we used to cover always on Fully Charged, and we kind of stopped because, in a way, they're still petrol cars, as we now know with the self-charging hybrid. Obviously that's different. You don't have to put any petrol in a self-charging hybrid Toyota. It just charges itself.
Well, as the figurehead of Fully Charged, Robert, I think you were the one that said, unless it has a significant real-world range EV only,
it's kind of
plug-in hybrids we almost kind of steer clear of. And when we say significant, we mean real-world, 35 miles plus?
It's got to be, I think, even more. I mean, it's got to
40.
be 50, 40 or 50 miles. Yeah. Because it was like your Ampere. I mean, that you could do 90% of your journeys without ever using the engine on that.
It's very, very good. Day to day, you wouldn't use the engine.
Because what did the range of that was like over 50 miles.
It was 50 in summer.
Right.
And in the depths of winter, 32, 35.
Right.
But if you think, like most people go to work 10 miles each way, 12 miles each way, it was still comfortably good for that.
It's a great car.
Yeah, I know. Bloody love them.
I don't know if there's any mention there of Transit.
You're going to see. You're going to see some Transit. Well, let's just wait until you come back from it. We can. Jag Land Rover have released a statement. Was it last week? They've installed 166 smart charging outlets for electric vehicles at the Gaydon Engineering Centre.
Oh, that's good.
The cost-neutral charger network is available to all JLR employees. Company sources 100% renewable energy electricity for its UK facilities to enable carbon-free commuting. So there you go. It's the charging facilities have been supplied by New Motion.
New Motion, owned by BP or Shell? Yeah, they've been bought by Shell. Shell own New Motion. So they're a German charging company.
Yeah, 7 kilowatts charging stations.
All right.
So it's happening. MG.
Oh, MG is exciting. I just wanted to do that one. The Leaf. So there is a Leaf. It's become the first electric car in history to pass.
Yeah,
it's about 400,000 miles.
So it's.
I think I've got a feeling there's a Tesla that's done more.
Sales.
400,000 sales.
So it's the first electric car in history to surpass 400,000.
That is very good.
So by the time you've listened to this, it hopefully will be on its way to 500,000. Yeah, which is really good. I just hope. Because that came out in 2010, that car, didn't it?
Yeah, 2010, I suppose they launched it. I got mine in 2011 when it first. So 2011, I think it was released. Yeah.
I just hope, like we said this before in the previous podcast, that probably no one heard because it was the one that wasn't recording well enough. I hope that Nissan back up their successful Leaf with other models.
Yeah, they kind of need to now,
they need to broaden their model range.
Yeah.
You know, we want to see an electric Qashqai. We want to see an electric, I would say Micra, but the Mikra's crap these days, unfortunately. Well, it used to be quite an interesting car. It's got nothing about it anymore. That's another story.
Yeah.
MG.
So MG, this is exciting, and we don't want to say anything about what particular vehicles we can guarantee will be at Fully Charged Live.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Although we've got some cool stuff lined up.
We've got some very cool stuff.
Yeah, old and new.
Yeah. So if you don't know about Fully Charged Live, I'm going to do a little plug now.
You will have been living under a rock.
You will have been living under a rock if you've ever heard anything about Fully Charged. So Fully Charged Live is at Silverstone in the British Midlands.
I know. Northamptonshire.
Northamptonshire on the 7th, 8th and 9th of June. Tickets are available if you go to fullychargedshow.co.uk. You'll see all the information there about what's going on. Lots of test drives, 3,000 test drives over the weekend.
Yeah.
On a track.
There's one that was
supervised.
I think there's an example, at least one example of every electric car on sale.
Oh yeah,
in Britain
there definitely will be. Yeah.
That you can hopefully book a test drive on the track, on the Silverstone track.
It'll be pre-booked, yeah.
Yeah, there'll be classic EVs, there'll be e-bikes, there'll be electric motorbikes.
Amazing electric conversion-y things, all sorts of exciting stuff there.
Not to mention the whole world of renewable energy in your household.
Yeah,
to make your home more efficient, or self-generate your own electricity.
Yeah, loads of that. Loads of really good talks, that was the thing that I was doubting last year. Would people really want to see that? I now accept that they do, because they were brilliant people. We had some really good people.
People were engaged. Yeah. They definitely were. Yeah.
But MG, because I didn't even know MG still existed.
Well, lots of people didn't.
Okay, so I'm not alone in that.
It was bought by the Chinese. None of them are made in Longbridge anymore.
Right.
They're all made in China. But they've been bringing cars out now for quietly, 8 years, 7 years, and they're not that bad.
Wow.
I'm going to say that.
Okay.
Some of them are actually okay.
Right.
And they're going to bring out the ZS, which is their SUV.
Right.
It'll be the arrival of their first full EV vehicle to launch in the UK this autumn.
Wow.
5-seater, good sized boot. I'm actually really looking forward to it. Because it's going to be priced very, very competitively.
Right. And it's been built, so that'll be built in China. It's a Chinese car.
Chinese brand, Chinese car. I'm pretty sure it'll be shipped to the UK.
Right.
Yeah. Obviously, you can buy it right.
Autumn of this year.
Yeah. So MG's pretty good value for money.
Right.
And it's a badge you recognise, but obviously under different ownership.
Yeah.
But yeah,
wow, that's good.
I'm looking forward to driving that one.
Autumn 2019.
I was quite surprised the last time I drove an MG, which was about 3 months ago.
Right.
I was surprised in a good way
at
how well it drove.
And that was a petrol.
That was a petrol older version of that car, I think.
Right.
Was it a GS or a ZS? I'm trying to remember. I get the
letters
mixed up. Yeah.
That is I think that's very encouraging.
And of course, there's companies converting old MGs now.
Yeah.
If you wanted to tap into the heritage.
That was a favourite of mine as a young man. Was that when I was cycling down the lane and an MGB GT drove past, because I could tell. That's not just an MG.
No,
that's an MGB GT.
BGT, yeah. Because you can imagine the MGB GT community would absolutely love that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there is a community.
It's Britain's favourite classic car.
Because what did that have a V8 in it, or there was a variant that had a V8?
Yeah, you could get the Rover V8 one.
Right.
The 1.8. They were 1.8 engines.
Oh, were they? In the MGB GT was 1.8.
I think it was 1.8.
But then you could get the 3.5 V8.
Yeah, 3.5 later. They did an MGC as well, which had a straight six, an iron straight six in it, which weighed about the same amount as a steam locomotive, hung right over the front. And it had an interesting bonnet bulge.
Right, it did have
it had a different bulge because it needed to get the engine in, but that was how you differentiated it.
Right. Because the other favourite, which I thought about the other day, I don't know why, I hadn't seen one, was the TR6, was it the Triumph?
Triumph TR6.
A sports car.
Yeah.
Because that had a side, dressed to the left, it had a side bonnet bulge.
It did have a side bulge, the same as the MGC, yeah. I like a side bonnet bulge. It gives you an idea of the purpose that's going on there, because the Capri had a generic pointless centre bulge, like a codpiece.
Yeah.
A pressed steel codpiece.
I mean, that is going to be a thing with electric cars in that sense. You don't really need the bulges.
Because of the centre of gravity being ultra low.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't know what you can do. I'm trying to think what the equivalent, because you could have side flanges.
Side flange?
Well, no, round the side, because you've got a bigger battery pack.
Yes.
So it sticks out a bit at the side. I think that would be probably one of the most stupid design decisions ever, seeing as all the attention is protecting the battery pack.
You mean like a swollen sill?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
I want a slightly swollen sill that is actually, because I've got another 10 kilowatt hours.
Because you can say I've got more kilowatt hours than you. What is the electric equivalent of the bonnet bulge?
Yeah, there isn't one. I don't think there is one.
It's not your charging flap on display.
I mean, the only thing could be that you could show off that you can do 350 kilowatt input. So you have a kind of bulging charging port.
Yeah, rapid charge capability. Or do you have these things written on the back? Like you used to have turbo written on the back of
exactly.
turbo cars.
You need that, yeah.
You proclaim it.
Yeah.
So you do 350k.
350k. Oh, the Mercedes 350k.
Maybe we could see that.
He drives the Mercedes 350k. He must be doing really well.
Absolutely.
Yesterday, a lovely Keith.
The lovely Keith,
who is the CEO of Scottish Power, who are amazing. I'm just going to rave about Scottish Power very briefly.
I was with them for many years.
Yeah, well, they are now 100% renewable. They've got rid of all their coal assets.
That's really good.
They just do wind and solar. And
they always had a good app.
Yeah, they've got a good app. Someone mentioned the app.
Their app always worked really well.
Because often those things.
No, there you go. And I found it to be utterly, if it's Johnny-proof, it's got to be simple.
God, absolutely. No, I'm the same. But he said, come and see my car. Robert, you'll love this. Come and see my car. So I went down. This is just before I had to go on. The organisers were panicking.
What?
A big event at their head office. So I went down the stairs with him. I'd met him a couple of times before.
He didn't have a handkerchief with chloroform in it or anything like that.
It crossed my mind at one moment.
Come and see my car, quick.
What have I said about Scottish Power? They're going to do me in.
Get in the car.
Come and see my car. So I went down the stairs, went round the corner, and I saw a black Range Rover. And I thought, he's going to show me a plug-in hybrid Range Rover, and I've got to pretend to be impressed. And I went, oh, God. And I really was like that. I was going, oh, God. And then I went round the corner, and there's a Twizy. He drives a Twizy to work. He absolutely raves about it. It was really hard to get because they're quite hard to buy in this country. They're easy in France, but here. And he's
in Scotland.
He's in Scotland. He drives it to work every day of the year. Doesn't matter what the weather is. He's got plastic. He said
it's got the old.
He said he shook some like a plastic bag that someone had tied to. He said that's the window.
Because they're optional, the windows, aren't they?
Oh yeah, it doesn't come with them. So they're a kind of clip-in window, and he has got inside motorbike gloves. And he's got full. He wears full
snowboarding
leather.
gear.
You have to. I mean, there's no heater.
I have to say though, it's kind of like.
But he's 20 miles to drive in.
And they're a 3-pin only.
Yeah, 3-pin only. Well, it comes out the front, but there was a 3-pin socket in the garage, so that's why he plugs it in.
Just brilliant.
Yeah, because I was really expecting him to have. We'll have a Model X, or we'll have something flash, because he's the boss.
I think the Twizy has that cult appeal.
Yeah.
And I also think with the dawn of stuff like 3D printing, people could surely make their own windows and doors.
No, I think these are, what do they call it? Third-party add-ons.
Yeah. They just look like a melted bin liner.
They do. It looks like a tea tray that someone's rolled out. And, I don't know. Well, it doesn't look like anything else I've ever seen. It's like a transparent-ish.
Yeah.
Not very transparent, sort of plastic clip-on thing.
And second-hand Twizys have reached the price point where now you could buy one and you could properly modify it.
Yeah.
With maybe with Type 2 charging and different battery pack.
Because actually that's interesting because none of the classic car people we know, as far as I know, that hasn't been done because you could put a bigger motor in it.
Yeah.
So it could be really.
You could get a crashed Zoe.
Yeah.
Keep it in the family. Get a crashed salvage Zoe. Repurpose the bits into a Twizy. You have yourself a Type 2 charging proper hot rod Twizy.
Because I bet you could, because the back seat, there is a back seat in very large inverted commas.
Do you have to wrap your legs around the driver?
It's extremely uncomfortable, and also when you go over...
Why haven't we driven one together before?
Well, we should do.
We should do a podcast from one.
We should.
A Twizy podcast.
Good idea, Twizy, because I do love driving them, but sitting in the back is really no fun. You can't see. Yeah. When you go over a speed hump, it is actually like having a bolt ramming into your spine. There's not a lot of suspension at the back.
It's the sort of thing kids would love.
Oh yeah, no,
of a certain age.
My daughter, the first thing she ever drove was a Twizy. She absolutely loved it. Yeah, and she was slightly underage to drive anything. Wasn't on public roads.
In the back garden.
Yeah, in the back garden, mostly. But what was the other thing? I can't remember what I was going to say about Twizys. There was something relevant, but it's gone now. They're fun.
They're a lot of fun. Obviously, Nico Rosberg's favourite car is a Twizy. We've said this a few times.
Because it reminded me of the first cars I drove, which were go-karts.
Yeah. It's like a bubble car,
It's like a brilliant little bubble car. But what you could do, if you were just thinking if you converted it, you'd just lose the back seat. Put some extra. You could put a little extra, nicely done. Get Richard from Electric Classic Cars to do it. A nice little plinth with a bit of extra, so you could get probably another. You only want like another 10 kilowatts.
Yeah, and put a cargo net in for your stuff.
Yeah, you need a cargo net for your stuff because
you don't want to get a head full of suitcase if you have to put the brakes on.
Or if you bought a load of pasta, it's all over the place.
Oh, you don't want that. Or you did a curry run in one. Oh, you had to really smash the brakes on. You suddenly get a scarf of curry. Nobody wants a scarf of curry.
A curry scarf, I think
that's like some sort of Cockney kind of gangster punishment.
I think that
listen,
might be,
son, I'm going to give you a curry scarf.
For a moment, I thought it was an electric car driver coming in.
Now that's a chap of older years.
Yes.
And what you'll find is he's driving with his mouth open the whole time.
That was a good look, wasn't it?
Like is it a basking shark? It's constantly sifting the plankton. So its mouth is open the whole time.
He was looking at the charges going, what's that?
I've got no idea what that is. What's that, wizardry? Is that witchcraft? Got absolutely no idea what that is.
But that is...
Does that conclude our podcast?
I think so, yeah.
Do you feel like we've been dribbling on a little?
I think we've drizzled on enough for this intermediary one, because we've had a complicated couple of weeks with travel arrangements and being away, and haven't really fully raked in huge. Although we've covered quite a lot of news stories.
We've tried.
Yeah,
we've tried.
So next week's will be just exquisite.
Yeah, they might not be from the cabin of the Golf.
No,
they might be from somewhere else.
Yeah, could be any.
Do you like my air freshener, by the way?
I do.
Rub it between finger and thumb.
Let me have a go.
It might get you Christmassy again, even though it's spring. It's fresh cinnamon.
It takes me back. Is that what it is? It's cinnamon based.
Absolutely. Can I just say, the smell of cinnamon with the smell of WD-40 actually gets me in a state of arousal. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you for listening to the Fully Charged podcast.
Yes.
A quick thank you to all our Patreon supporters. Without your help and constant support, we simply wouldn't be able to keep going. So it's really important. Thank you very much. And if you would like to support us too, and I'm going to do it all again. Sorry, Ben, this is a pain for you. I might cut this.